Good evening and thanks for watching WRTV News at 6 on this Thursday evening. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. First tonight, an Indianapolis nurse survives COVID-19 after getting a double lung transplant. She's one of the few to undergo such a surgery from the virus. WRTV's Stephanie Wade shares this extremely powerful story you need to hear.
It has been quite a journey for Carrie Wegg. She has worked tirelessly as a NICU nurse for 25 years at St. Vincent Hospital when she found herself fighting for her own life with COVID-19 in that very same hospital.
It's devastating. I never thought something like this could happen to me. It's been so hard because I was healthy and I thought if I ever got it, I would be fine.
Carrie Wegg first got sick in June, diagnosed with pneumonia. Then in July, she, her husband, and 2 children tested positive for the coronavirus.
I do work in a hospital, and my husband also works in a hospital. It's very possible we got it from the hospital.
Her family had mild symptoms and recovered quickly, while Wegg, on the other hand, did not.
It's been since July, since I've seen my boys. And I haven't been able to hug them or love on them. And they miss me so much.
Put on an echo machine, heart and lung bypass, and not improving for over a month. On August 19th, she says doctors discussed removing care.
Their dad had to sit down and tell them their mother might die. And they've had to try and cope with that.
But she says her husband wouldn't give up. Calls were made, and she was transferred to Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago on September 5th for a double lung transplant. Northwestern was the first to do a COVID-19 double lung transplant in the country, and Wegg was only the 6th survivor to undergo the surgery.
I'm eternally grateful to the family of my donor. I don't know anything about them or how they died, but they give me the gift of life.
Grateful to be alive, but devastated financially with nonstop medical bills. She suffers in her bed while her fellow healthcare workers continue the fight.
One of my co-workers got it, and she died. She died.
Praying people see this story and take this virus seriously.
I'm hoping my message as a nurse who didn't expect any of this can get out there and bring it home to people who don't necessarily want to wear masks or want to isolate themselves or quarantine. This is real.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
A GoFundMe fundraiser was started on Wegg's behalf by her sister to help cover the mounting medical costs. We will put up a link to the GoFundMe page on our website at WRTV.com.
My wife made more of an impact on society and others far more than I realized.
Tonight, a familiar face shares a heartbreaking story that too many families are familiar with.
Almost 6,000 Hoosiers have died from COVID-19 since the pandemic began, including Audrey Beckley, who was married to former WRTV anchor and reporter Ken Beckley for nearly 56 years. Tonight, Ken is helping us show that the toll of COVID-19 is much more than numbers. He is sharing his story of grief and loss and his wife's last days with our Cornelius Hawker.
Well, we had so many plans. I mean, we hoped to stay here in this house for a lot of years. We wanted to do a lot of international travel. We look forward to the day that grandchildren married. We look forward to watching our great-grandchildren grow and to be around them. So we had so many plans.
Ken Beckley's plans with his wife Audrey were cut short in August when she died because of COVID-19.
We were following every health recommendation by national public health officials. Very, very careful about washing hands and sanitizing and distancing and always wearing masks.
In the days before she tested positive for the virus, Audrey started having trouble with her legs.
I heard a thud in our bedroom, and what had happened, she had gotten out of bed, took a step, but her legs really wouldn't move. and she fell against a chest of drawers, and I found her clinging to that.
Ken tells me he struggled to get her in bed and then called 911. That was on a Monday morning. Audrey was out of the hospital that afternoon. By Tuesday night, Audrey was fine, but he started experiencing typical COVID-19 symptoms.
I started chilling, had body aches, headache, and then that went away the next afternoon.
By Thursday, Audrey was in the hospital again. And on Sunday,
her lungs they really had gotten filled with a lot of pneumonia, but they just weren't producing their own oxygen.
In her last few days, Audrey was able to join Ken and their children for a rib dinner.
We have this wonderful picture of her with her ribs and baked potato and so forth.
And made sure her son enjoyed his birthday.
As all mothers are, despite how sick they are, she said, she texted and said, "Now be sure to fix such and such for Greg for his birthday." And this was on Monday, and later that afternoon, she sent a selfie, and her trying to smile with a little oxygen tube, running the side of her face.
Audrey told her husband doctors said they were pleased with her progress. They texted again about the dinner Audrey had eaten, and that was their last conversation.
At 3 a.m., I got the call that things had just turned like that, and she was not going to make it. But a wonderful nurse held Audrey's cell phone for me 3 times that day for me to talk to Audrey and to tell her everything that you would want to tell your spouse as he or she were dying. I also told her that I would be fine and the kids would be fine, and not to just hang on out of fear that we wouldn't be.
As Ken walked us through the home he shared with Audrey, showing us all sorts of memories, telling stories about their rich life that was cut short, I asked him to address those who aren't taking COVID-19 seriously.
The maskless of America have an opportunity to really help bring down this pandemic. Those that refuse to mask and follow the other health precautions, just the 3 primary ones, are among the most selfish people ever to have lived. This is a pandemic, for God's sake.
That was Cornelius Hawker reporting. Audrey Jane Beckley died on August 19th, and like a lot of Hoosiers, she had a pre-existing condition, MS, but had lived with it for 50 years and did not let it stop her from living a full life. She was in the hospital for less than a week. While this story is sad, we know it is not unique as the pandemic continues to claim lives. We here at WRTV are making an effort to tell you the stories of the people behind those numbers.
3 local ER nurses contract coronavirus while trying to help save the lives of Hoosiers. They took on the virus and won. And as RTV6's Stephanie Wade shows us, they are back on the front lines helping patients, and they are taking yet another step to save lives.
Along this row, sitting side by side, these 3 women are not only co-workers, but also COVID-19 survivors.
I mean, it was scary. I was definitely anxious.
It's really awful. People say it's like the flu, but it's like 1,000 times worse than the flu.
Having contracted the coronavirus, working as ER nurses on the front lines.
Through contact tracing, it was definitely from a patient in the ER.
It just kind of comes with the job.
Emily Kornprobst was the first of the 3 to get infected.
My symptoms were fever, just a dry cough, some nausea. I lost my sense of taste and smell, and my worst symptom was my body aches.
Then she learned her friends in the same unit, Cassie Avery and Jude Shelp, started having symptoms too.
Cough, headache, fatigue, body aches.
Couldn't walk from one end of the house to the other without feeling like you were just so tired.
The worst part was their families and roommates consequently got the virus as well.
My mom, my sister, and my brother, and my dad.
My husband did get sick.
I mean, in such close contact and not knowing that I had been exposed They definitely blame me.
For 2 weeks, they all self-isolated.
I was quarantined to my bedroom and they stayed out in the living room.
Now, fully recovered and back at work, they are here today to donate their convalescent plasma to be used in a trial treatment with the hopes their antibodies can help critically ill patients lessen the severity of their symptoms. What this machine is doing is collecting her blood here, separating the red cells from the plasma, which is the yellow golden fluid, and that is used to treat COVID-19 patients.
I just feel so blessed to have been able to recover from COVID-19, and I feel like it's an opportunity to give back, as well as an obligation.
We don't have treatments. We don't have a vaccine yet. This is all we have that's helping. So if I can do anything to help at all, then it's not just something I can do, it's something I should do.
Working for you, Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
And we appreciate their efforts there. All 3 nurses are now back working in the ER. Each plasma donation that they make can help up to 3 COVID patients.
And first at 6, a nurse says she's getting a second chance at life after surviving COVID-19. It was not an easy fight. In fact, she says her family started to fear the worst and even began discussing her funeral. After 46 days in the hospital, spending time in the ICU and on a ventilator, she's finally home. Troy Washington is sharing her message with those who may not be taking the virus seriously.
Leslie Vogel wasn't sure she'd survive her bout with COVID-19.
This is a very serious virus. My children were discussing my funeral. That's how serious it was and how critically ill I was from COVID.
She says her family leaned into their faith and stayed by her side from the beginning through recovery.
Saturday, the 28th of March, I woke up short of breath, and I asked my daughter to take me to the Ascension St. Vincent Neighborhood Hospital in Noblesville.
Her condition worsened. She spent the remainder of March into May in the hospital, most of that time in ICU with a ventilator.
My last memory is being in ICU, looking out my glass door, and seeing the ventilator sitting there and everybody garbing up.
After all she's been through just to finally step foot inside of her home again, Leslie wants everyone to do all that they can to keep themselves and others healthy, keeping in mind that this advice is coming from a nurse.
Never have seen anything like this in my 39 years of nursing. We've never seen anything like this virus before. So please be careful out there.
By careful, this survivor means wearing a mask and making sure to follow the guidelines to protect yourself and everyone around you.
I feel like I have another, chance at life. My work on Earth is not finished.
Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
And Vogel has not returned to work yet. She agreed to do a virtual interview with us because she is limiting her contact with others right now. It's not known if those who have recovered from COVID-19 can contract it again.
First at 6 o'clock tonight, a family taking drastic steps to make sure their loved one is living a life worth living during the pandemic, removing him from assisted living and moving him to a home all his own so that he can spend time with the ones he loves. Our Alyssa Donovan has the story tonight.
This is the first time Tim Hession was able to hug his daughter or anyone in 8 months. Several years ago, the 61-year-old suffered a severe stroke, leaving him disabled and in need of round-the-clock care at an assisted living facility.
It's severely affected his speech. He's wheelchair bound. His eating.
Because of COVID-19 precautions, Sarah Gardner and her family haven't been able to spend much time with her dad, stopping by Brook Knoll Rehabilitation Center in Avon to wave through a window or coming in for a socially distant visit every few weeks.
6 feet apart for 30 minutes, 4 people at a time, no kids allowed. So he wasn't being able to see his grandkids.
Now he's getting to see them and hug them several times a week. Gardner and her siblings saw the toll seclusion, sitting alone in a room for weeks on end, was taking on their dad. Progress made in speech therapy had disappeared, his strength and mental health diminishing, depression taking over, and his appetite non-existent.
Come to find out, he lost 35 pounds while he was sitting in quarantine.
Now he's getting back to himself. The family moving him into a 2-bedroom apartment in a 55 and older community. Medicaid is covering the cost of a caregiver during the day, and Gardner and other family members are rotating, staying overnight to be with him.
He's already progressing, even just physically. I can tell when I transfer him and do things, he's doing more, I'm doing way less, and it's only been 3 weeks.
The family knows the situation is risky, with multiple people coming and going from his home every day. And COVID-19 still a concern. But the alternative?
He's going to give up the will to live, because why would you want to do that another day?
So they decided that right now, this was the best thing for their dad, to give him joy, family time, and bring back hope that had been lost.
It's hope. If you don't have hope and purpose, there's no reason to keep going.
I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
A somber governor and an emotional health commissioner delivering the news tonight that Indiana lost its first patient to the coronavirus. Community Health Network officials where the patient was being treated say the individual was in the high-risk category, over the age of 60, and had pre-existing health issues.
First of all, I want to echo Governor Holcomb and Dr. Yoletti's sadness at the loss of our first Hoosier from COVID-19.
Tonight, doctors at Community Health say the individual's significant other is also infected with the virus. They couldn't be together when the patient died. A nurse stayed in the room with them instead.
We have no treatment. We have no vaccine.
At this point, state officials say where patients are getting the virus can't be traced back to Italy or China. They expect to see more of this as the days go on, saying it's absolutely imperative Hoosiers follow the governor's guidance, pleading with people to stay home.
To those who think that we may be overreacting, I can assure you that we are not.
If you're above age 60, if you have diabetes, cancer, heart condition, lung condition, or hypertension, I urge you to self-quarantine yourself for the next several days to several weeks.
Indiana received more test kits at the end of last week and are expecting more this week, but they are only testing people who are sick enough to be admitted to the hospital with underlying health conditions. They are prioritizing high-risk individuals, people in long-term care facilities, and healthcare providers.
If someone comes in thinking they have it, why would you not test them, and is that concerning to people?
Right, it is. It creates a lot of anxiety. Even people who are well want to get tested, and I understand that, but the reality is you could have minimal symptoms today and be tested and be negative, and 2 days from now be positive for COVID-19. So that gives you a false sense of security.
This is a time of heightened anxiety and concern that it needs to be.
Working for you, Stephanie Wade, RTV6.